about the plural nature of our inner beings.
Collective consciousness.
Yes.
Stream of consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah. Thoughts gathered by law of attraction into greater consciousness. Yeah. Focal points. Yeah.
I'm a hairdresser, and sometimes when I'm working on someone, or most of the time when I'm working on someone, I definitely feel that Source is the thing working through me, and I'm just there to help facilitate things. And I have done this for a long, long time, and I get a very deep connection with people, and it goes for many, many years. And sometimes I find when they've made their transitions, or when they haven't made their transitions, I will see them in other people. I heard you talking about the plural nature of our inner beings. I wondered if I was actually seeing an element of their being in another, or is that just my projection?
Well, it's your interpretation of energy, but it is not inaccurate. In the very early days, we were encouraging Jerry and Esther to allow their curiosity to expand and to play with us in every way that they could think, and to get to know the nature of that which we are, because we didn't want them to take our word for anything. We wanted them to find resonance with it, but let life show them, let life validate. And so very early in their Abraham experience, Jerry and Tracy and Esther were flying into Boston. And so we said to Esther, you're really going to like Boston because you've been here. You've been here. You've been here. And Esther said to them, we've been here, we've been here, we've been here. And so they got into the transportation to go to the hotel. It was rather late at night. Their plane was landing late, and by the time they made their way to the hotel and got checked in and dropped off their things, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. But they were all excited because they said, who was I? 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 And we said, when you stand before the statue that is you, you will know. Oh, we were famous. There's a statue. There's a statue. So they roamed around Boston, standing in front of this statue and standing in front of this statue and standing in front of this statue. And when the three of them stood before the statue of Samuel Adams, all three of them in one voice said, I was Samuel Adams. And then they said, not you, me, not you, me, not you, me. Get away from my statue. I felt it very strongly, each of them said to the other. And when they got back to the hotel room, they scampered there quickly. We said, the consciousness that was then in the body of Samuel Adams is now consciousness that's in the body of all three of you. And it was their first awareness of this, what you're talking about, this stream of consciousness. And now, even though it's still 2 o'clock in the morning, let's go out, they said. Let's go out. Let's roam around. And we said, good, we'll take you to your favorite place to eat. And so we led them out of the main square, back through an alley, around a corner, into a very dark place where no one would want to be at that time of night, except someone who knows it all as well. And we stood and we said, here it is. And it was no longer a place to eat. It was a tavern. And the plaque said, Boston's first eatery. So then, now they are really engaged in Boston. Where were we buried? Let's go find our body. So they went to the cemetery where it is said that Samuel Adams is buried. And they went to the headstone and we said, not here. And Jerry said, no, it is. It's right here. See, here's that. We said, not here. Over there. Jerry said, all right, Abraham. Doubting because there was a headstone there. And so Tracy and Jerry followed Abraham, Esther, over to a piece of grass where there was no marker whatsoever. And we said, right here. And they wondered, not doubt so much, but confusion. Doesn't seem right. And then they took a tour, an inspired tour, where the historian said, none of the bodies are near their headstones. And they said, sorry, Abraham, we doubted you just a little bit, just a little bit. So lots of things to understand about these kinds of stories. The most important thing is that you are ongoing consciousness and that you return again and again. And then they were interested in the history of Samuel Adams more than the beer. Oh, look, here's our beer. More than the beer. He was quite a rabble-rouser, sort of poked at things and stirred things up. And Esther said, just like you. It's just like you. And Jerry says, just like you too. In other words, it was sort of fun to find some of those ongoing, eternal intentions that are part of that consciousness. So now, where have we brought you with this conversation? It gets weirder every day here, doesn't it?
I find a great peace in it. Coming off of the last person's question, because I have seen people for 30 years that, I've had clients whose children have been killed. I've watched many people make their transition and everything. And in my time with them, I basically do this comforting and soothing that you suggest and remind them that they are okay, their body's checked out, but they're back with pure positive energy.
If those who are remaining could understand that this non-physical friend of theirs now, someone that they knew when they were all physically focused, who now has made transition, is active and aware with you now. If you understood how much of what you call dead and we call non-physical is forward looking with you, then you would understand why some of the exhilaration you feel is the way that it is, why some of the inspiration that you feel is the way that it is. Everything that has been before that physical beings want to think of as present and then past tense, we want you to understand that none of that consciousness is past tense. It's all present tense, but in the non-physical sense of things. So no one ever leaves you. One day Esther got such a strong sense of that, and we really want you to be among the living and think about life and think about your life and think about focusing in your life, and let all of us dead guys come and focus with you, because it's really to your advantage when we do, because once we've made our transition, we are pure positive energy, and we know what the relationship is between you and your desires and what's in the vortex, and we know how to inspire you and call you. There is such a cadre of non-physical energy that is here to support and uplift and guide and help and revel in your happiness, you see. But you've got to meet that. One day Esther was sitting in the living room of her Texas house, and she was noticing this beautiful wall. There are several columns around the house that all have a quartz crystal stacked rock on them. And with the downlights that are showing down on them, it really is beautiful in the day or in the night, with the lights on or with the lights off. It's so beautiful. And Esther was sitting there, and her attention was drawn to it. Now that's us. That's us. It was after her meditation and in her basking, and when she came back into her full consciousness, she was feeling such appreciation for that. And then that thought led to the creators of such a pretty thing. And that thought led to the people who had installed it. And that thought led, and that thought led, and that thought led, and that thought led. And before she knew it, she was feeling appreciation for the builders of the roads and the builders of the industry and the movers of everything that had led her to this point in time where this thing that she was appreciating so much could come to be. And this is what we wish for you relative to this subject of all who have come before you. They are not past tense. They are current tense, and they are more eager about your life and what you're doing here and now than you are consciously allowing yourself to know. But when you start lifting the veil that you've all put there between the physical and the non-physical, and you allow yourself to accept the eternalness of all of your beings, and then you feel the importance of your leading edge perspective right here and now, where you get to be the receiver of all that knowledge that has been before, and not regurgitate knowledge that has been learned in other generations, but stand as the receiver of the next excellent idea that is current tense and coming from that vantage point. Musicians often understand that as they receive inspiration. Artists often understand that. But so many people that aren't in the work that they think is really creative work don't understand how much creativity is flowing through them and how interrelated you all are. You're not just interrelated in important ways to each other who are still sharing this physical body, this physical planet while you're in your physical bodies. You're related to all who have come before, and everything that has ever been is forward looking with that which you are now. So every teacher who has ever taught, every physician who has ever known, every scientist who's ever discovered, every inventor of everything is forward looking with you, because this is the leading edge of thought. This is where it's at. This is where the action is. This is where the energy bursts into something that you all get to see and hear and smell and taste and touch, you see. And so when you start looking at what you call death in that way and understand that it's not death, it's supersonic life. And when you begin to